raffle from the last week's Answer the Call for you guys, just so you guys know that it's legit. I'm obviously going to filter for duplicate users in case people commented twice, but it's pretty simple. It's you enter the URL, and then you just say start, and we pick a random winner. Seems pretty simple. Shadow Nova. Congratulations, you won. So what we'll do is, this is before the current Answer the Call, I'm going to reach out and share to Shadow Nova on the YouTube comment section and everything and see if we can get his information and share the ship with him. This was for a 125A. So congratulations, man. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Answer the Call. This week's topic is, well, first off, we're just solo, no guests this week. And the topic is, do we need a roadmap in Star Citizen? My opinion is no. Okay, and reason being is the current roadmap that we have, and any roadmap, is obviously showing your plans for the future. And for me, I think the issue with a lot of Star Citizen isn't that the devs have a hard time making the game and things get delayed. How I feel is that the community isn't capable of having a roadmap. Last week, we had two awesome guests from the Yacht Club, Stim Citizen and Jarun. Jarun is the quintessential white knight in Star Citizen, right? But even he says, we all need to just manage our expectations. We need to manage our expectations. What I think Jarun fails to understand is that people aren't capable of managing their expectations, right? Normal people aren't capable of managing their expectations. So your average human gets excited about something. If it gets taken away from them, they're going to get let down, right? Let down leads to being upset, sad, then it leads to being angry, and then you get me. No, just kidding. But in a way, yes, I feel like I'm one of those people that no matter how much I hear Jarun say it, and I agree with him, I can't be him as much as I'd like to be, right? And I'm reading Twitch chat a little bit here. As many times as you read the caveat doesn't mean it doesn't change the way your emotions feel when the exciting feature falls off the roadmap, right? So what's the purpose of a roadmap? A roadmap is to share your plans for the future. And the thing about Star Citizen is, since we're the backers, we're the ones who pay for the game, they should be telling us what's going on, open development, all that stuff, right? I understand that. But this is, for me, where it's starting to fail a little bit. We see a lot more memes and jokes and being sad about the situations that we're in now, because people are starting to get tired. And that's interesting. So, moving on, we know that they're working on a new roadmap. And the new roadmap is a little bit different. It's we've talked about it on the podcast previously. It's what's called like a Gantt chart. It's called a Gantt chart, and I'll try and kind of bring it up here. This is sort of what it looks like, or what it might look like. But the thing that I have the issue with is, if you could see, it says current quarter, quarter 4, 2020, or not, whatever. It says quarters, right? We're in the current quarter of Q3, but you could see that the lines end in Q4, right? So you're going to go, oh, well, FPS radar and scanning is going to be in Q4 2020, but you don't know. So me personally, I prefer the idea of what a lot of other game developers do. I think they kind of work on something. They say, hey, we got something cool coming. We're pretty excited about it. When they're ready to show off a feature that they have ready to show off, they might show a picture. They might show a teaser trailer, things like that. So, your ISC type stuff. And then later, they might show the road it took to get there. But the roadmap, I think, has a lot of negatives. Now, that's just my opinion. I think the roadmap has done a lot more negative than it has done positive, and I don't see the future one, even though it's more of a snapshot of what's being worked on now. I don't see it resolving that issue, which is the point that they're spending time on it, right? So I don't know how I feel about it. I'm in a weird place. I want to hear what you guys say. So that's what I think. Okay. A little bit too long of an intro, in my opinion, already. So let's get to the callers because that's what really matters. I want to hear what people think. All right. Unmatched. Welcome to the show, Unmatched. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Just working a lot lately, as always. How you doing?
I'm okay. I mean, we saw that 312 lost a few like key features, and people started to get bummed out. And they rushed to my channel, and they were like, "Oh, I want to hear Mike be upset about this." And I just was like, "Whatever." At this point, like 312 was gutted months ago, and taking something out of it now like doesn't make me any happier or upset about it. But it did make me think like immediately something falls off the roadmap and everybody's ready to go. Something new comes on it, they're clacking their keyboard ready to post something, how excited they are on Reddit. Like,
I, I I would guess that those guys are new because I'm kind of numb to them doing that, just like you. You know,
yeah,
uh,
but the whole thing
like
is I don't think they're kind of new. I think it's a lot of people get those feelings. So I don't know, but yeah, what are
yeah.
your thoughts?
Well, if you've been following, well, I would think anybody that's been following the project for as long as me and you, are just, I would say for the most part just numb to the feeling of them moving stuff, especially since this this pandemic began. The whole entire roadmap in general just got cut down to like a quarter, maybe
Mm-hmm.
even less of the size than it was. You know what I'm saying? We barely have anything for the quarterly roadmap nowadays compared to what it used to be a year ago,
Sure.
and going like I don't think we need like they I don't think they should be releasing the new roadmap format. Like I don't think there should be any real rush to release it yet, because by the time like the due dates come, they gut it of literally anything you would be excited about. Literally anything, whether it be like for this, like I was looking at the list today, the most excited thing I would have been excited about for this next patch coming up would have been network refactoring, just to see what
That
can they
has
milk
been
out the game.
delayed like 7 times, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I'm saying like
And
there's
when it
no
gets
point in
close,
making.
people start mentioning it. They get excited. Okay, it's going to
Yep,
happen this
yep,
time. And it
yeah,
never
it's gonna.
does.
It yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Like it's just like the things that really matter on a deep level, like network refactoring, any type of server work, any thing that will make the game expand to be bigger, you know, aside from ships and guns and things that are easy to implement at this point.
Hmm.
Other than that, like the stuff that I really care about when it comes to like networks and servers and stuff like that, things to expand Star Citizen to be bigger. By the time it comes close to the time for it to come out, it's just gone from the roadmap. What's the point of a roadmap if you're not gonna keep to the
Be able to adhere to it in some
yeah,
way.
be able to adhere to what's happening there. And if you come out with this new roadmap, and we'll be able to see the in progress in real time, you're gonna just have a whole bunch of people getting even saltier. Like, why is this team like what the guy said the other day? The guy that brought up the real name of this roadmap, a Gantt chart. He said that all that's gonna do is make Star Citizen backers even more salty. You're gonna be like, "Who's the head of this team? Why are they taking so long to do this?" Blah blah blah. Fire that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting here like, there's no point for a roadmap right now unless they're gonna adhere to, and these guys know that they'll be able to adhere to to deadlines and everything else, and they can't do that yet. You know what I'm saying? Everything that I see everything that I see on the roadmap is that's currently on the roadmap that they didn't chop off is things that are relatively, I would say, easy from what they already have to implement. Like the object push and pull, that would have been another thing I would have been excited about. That would have been something new, but that's moved. Death animations, to stop making your death animations look so cheesy and out of place. That would have been like right below the object push and pull. That would have been like in my third place. Basically anything and everything that I would have even slightly cared about got removed in this current roadmap. And yeah, it's not that anybody should you know I don't think anybody should be getting mad anymore. Like, there's a big excuse for all this, and that's because of the pandemic. They're not in their offices. You don't know. They can't. The data streams, like the gigabit internets, aren't. You don't get that from personal internet service providers. You know what I'm saying? And work is slow, so you shouldn't be like. I don't think anybody, whether you're old or new, should be expecting anything big to come out of the current progress of Star Citizen, because the pandemic has just basically slowed everything. It's slowed everything for every major company, including Star Citizen. And again, anything that matters is just removed towards the end of it. And
But
that's what I got.
it's got nothing to do with the pandemic, dude. This has been since they given the roadmap out. It's been the same thing.
But at least when before the pandemic came out, you had a way bigger roadmap than what we have right now, and you could look
That's
forward
not
to
true.
like a million.
That's not true. They started gutting it in the beginning of this year, way before, before. It was gutted way before, and the whole thing is, I just don't think there's a point to it, because I think people can't handle the pain, and I agree with you, is that they don't adhere to it. And this is something that I wanted to say in the beginning, is that some people, in Twitch chat, we read it when we were discussing this a little bit before the show started, was that somebody mentioned that the roadmap should help put pressure on the developers to get their work done. If that actually was the case, then the work would have gotten done on everything, or at least a percentage of the things that are on the roadmap each quarter, and most of the time, the major features never get delivered. So, yeah.
Yeah.
If it worked in that sense, I would say okay, but it doesn't.
Yeah, the roadmap doesn't work at all in the current position that they're in. Whether it be not adhering to deadlines, or whatever effect the pandemic has had on them. Whether or not you might not agree with me, that I do give them a little pass for the way the world is right now. Like, it's slowed down everything, especially in New York City where I live. So there's just things not moving at all. So, and we're supposed to be partly through this pandemic. I don't even know. It seems like a second wave's beginning.
Okay, we're not talking about the
Yeah,
fucking
we're not
pandemic,
talking about
please.
that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the whole thing is, if CIG doesn't need to adhere to their own dates, why would the devs ever feel pressure to get their work done? So what we're seeing on the roadmap is their internal date of when they want stuff done, and if they never actually need to hit it and there's no repercussions for it, what's the point? And I don't know, I'm not saying like fire people or whip them or something like that, but there seems to be no repercussions for failure. And in general, that not meeting your deadlines would be some sort of a failure, right?
Yeah.
So is it a soft deadline? Is it a hard deadline? What is the hard deadline? Like, it's very confusing to me based on this roadmap, and I wonder what it's like for a developer to work there, what it feels like to try to adhere to this deadline. Is it an unrealistic deadline? Is it an impossible one? Or is it known that doesn't matter if I hit or miss it, so fuck it?
Well, that's a management problem there, that you're speaking of,
Well, I don't know
It's
if it's
like
a problem or not. We don't know.
yeah, yeah. Well, it sounded like you just described a management problem there. Like in my workplace, if I don't get my work done, my supervisor is going to be screaming in my ears, and I don't like that. So I exactly what you said. What you just described is just a pure management supervisory problem right there. That deadlines don't apply to CIG or anything like that. Um, and maybe they need to start cracking the whip. Like this got to be done nowadays, or by this time, or something's gonna happen to you. You'll have a write up, or the management will talk to you or something like that. Because I know that's what happens at my job. You mess up too much, one of the supervisors is gonna talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pure management problem right there. And maybe they need to start cracking the whip, but yeah, that's basically
Yeah. I mean, we don't know if they do or if they don't. It's just posing that question, like since we're seeing their internal roadmaps, they don't hit them very often. Things fall off, and we don't know if there's repercussions, if there's any sort of disciplinary things going on for people not missing their timelines or whatever, right? I think it's typically the person who's working on it is the one that gives that timeline. So it's like it's a weird situation.
It's not like Cyberpunk. They got to deal with crunch if they don't reach their deadline. But they don't have. I don't think they would have that as CIG. Maybe they need to implement some disciplinary for not hitting your date. You can't just be nonchalant.
I don't think we can sit here and say that. I don't think we're in the position to say something like that.
I'm not saying that we are, but like some disciplinary way to say, if you don't put it on the roadmap, you're not going to be able to hit it. If you hit it, something's going to happen. If you don't hit it, something's going to happen. It's just got to be like that.
Yeah, I mean, something that happens is we get upset, dude. That's it. But us getting upset, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing. Oh, I have the on the line thing. Let me take that off.
Yeah.
But yeah. So all right, Unmatched. I guess we'll let you go, and we'll bring in the next callers because we have quite a bit today.
All right, thank you.
It's kind of depressing. I don't know what else to say. This whole thing's pretty depressing once you start talking about it.
It is.
Oh, I just let him go. But again, Unmatched, thank you so much, dude. I appreciate you. We're going to go to a tweet, actually, because we have some of those today. The first one is from Zeusnoxia. And he says, I would like to know what's coming in the next patch, and once a year, I would want to know what blockers of each of the pillars have left, what, if any, blockers have been completed in the last year, and what blockers Squadron 42 has left. Yeah, sure, that's cool, but what about, like, I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't know what can work. I think they put themselves in this, like, super precarious position where it's going to be really difficult to get a win out of this, right? Like, I don't know if there's any real wins here. There's just slightly less losses. And I think the new roadmap is definitely a slightly less loss than what we currently have. But I don't know if it's really a win. So it's kind of weird. I will take what you say and say this. What would be an interesting roadmap would be like, here's the end. It would be a pillar. So something like, I don't know, orgs 2.0 or global full persistence or dynamic economy, right? At the end. And then you see the items that they're working on to get towards that. Right? So you can use the same like Gantt chart now, but at the end, instead of it being like this feature releases now, why not have this feature is working towards this? Right? Maybe that. I don't know. It's interesting. But all right, let's bring on our next caller. His name is Unobtainium. Unobtainium, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I like that idea that you just presented because it's like a feature dependency graph.
Yeah.
Where we see like which features depend on which other features, and what is needed to complete first to get to the next one. Because I think a lot of the problems we had was that it wasn't very clear when a tech, what the tech was supposed to do and what it would lead to. Like, for example, with OCS, what did that lead to? People thought that it was like this big feature that would allow us a lot of players in an instance, and that didn't work out like we all expected.
Yeah, they even talked about, we're testing adding more players. And you were like, it's going to happen. Because, like, I think we can all agree that the scale of the Stanton system's pretty big. We can have quite a few players in that system, and it would make the game more fun. Now, I know it's not the game that we all paid for, the game that we dreamed about, but more players in it would make it more interesting. So we got excited. Never happened.
Yep.
You know? And that wasn't even a roadmap thing. They didn't mention testing adding new players on the road. That was never on the roadmap. That's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think so. A feature dependency graph would help a lot, because we would like see where we came from, what the dependencies were for the already completed tech systems. We would know where we are right now and where we are going, essentially. Like that the upcoming static server meshing won't be like the God patch that we are expecting. In general, I don't think there's like this type of Jesus patch. It will always be like little improvements, sometimes major improvements, but it's never going to be like, this is it. This is the change that.
No, it's going to be a gradual move towards a finished product. I agree.
Yeah.
The thing,
I guess the biggest.
Oh, I'm sorry. The thing that I was going to say is, it would be really helpful, I think, to have that system that you just mentioned and I mentioned a little bit, but then once Evocati comes out, that's when the patch notes drop. So that's when that's what you know is going to be in the Q311 or 312. Is the Evocati patch notes drop? Everybody knows what's in the patch. Oh, okay. So all of those things led to that new feature, right? And you don't need to be so descriptive of exactly. I don't know. And then. Yeah, it's just an interesting thing. I'm just speaking from my own personal opinion of it is very difficult to deal with that's going to be awesome, and then it be let down. And it's happened over so many years that I can't quite deal with it anymore. And I don't think the new example of the roadmap will change that very much.
Yeah, probably not. But I think it will be a better representation of what's going on in CLG themselves. Like, I think it's an improvement, even if it's going to still show a lot of lags. I expect every 2 weeks to stuff move around like sprints usually do prior to changes. I think what's missing is that we won't get like a very deep analysis of why priorities change, and I think that would help a lot. You think so?
Yeah. Well, do you think that the new roadmap would? Okay. So what happens often, I think, is that the next patch comes out. All right. This is assuming we're still in staggered dev, right? So 311 and 312 should have been being worked on at the same time. As soon as 310 drops, 311 and 312 are both in production, is how they explained it to us. And not much should change on those things. Some things just don't make it in. But the features planned should not change. There shouldn't be any additions or subtractions because you've already decided what you're going to work on for those 2 quarters. Nothing should change.
Yep.
So
I guess
what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah. I think it just doesn't work like that with, like, it's called software engineering. Like, the engineering part is like where you fact check against the reality. What do you have? How does it work? Is it what you want? Does it provide the capabilities, overcome the limitations that you have?
Okay.
like that's what they always call this iterative process.
Sure.
And I think it doesn't work very well if you stick to like your plan. You have your map laid out, and you stick to that no matter what. I don't think that in this day and age it doesn't work very well, because you need to adapt to these new insights that you get while you are working on something.
Especially in a game like this, that like we're
Yeah,
playing
definitely.
it as they're developing it, right? So the idea of this is the road we're going to take for the flight, like look at the flight model is the example of this issue. Is yeah, Arena Commander was supposed to solve the flight model. How could it solve the flight model if Arena Commander is in a tight area that isn't an entire star system? Once we opened up into a star system, the flight model that existed before was no longer, it was broken at that point. And then the changes that they made, we've gradually gotten to where we are now, and there's still a lot of work to go. But the idea of having a finished product, like even something, I talked about this earlier, high-speed combat was something on the roadmap, I believe, for 3.10. And it didn't work. But it was something that said, this is what it will do. This will slow players down. And it's like, no, but it didn't. But it didn't do it. So the idea of expressing that these are like tests to try and resolve problems, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's always like, we don't have to see these statements as something definitive.
Yes.
We just have to see it like little snapshots in time, like what it is now, did it accomplish that? No, so back to work. Like,
yeah, and I think the new roadmap could help with that, because it's like a sprint where we work on this, and then the next thing is whatever the next thing is, and you can kind of see the progression then, rather than the kind of, it's almost like a rubber stamp when it's on the current roadmap of high-speed combat comes in, bang, solution, you know, but it's not always a solution to the problem.
Yeah, we will see, like, I hope we can see, like, if a feature is not in a state where they feel confident with, got feedback from the community, and then we see that they dedicate a sprint for fixing that. Yeah. And we see also that, like, the other stuff that previously they expected to work on got moved, like, 1 or 2 weeks behind that. Yep. I think that would be ideal. I think that would be very insightful.
Sure, and that's in the hopes that they keep up with it and update this as frequently as possible, because I think another problem with the current roadmap, not the newest one that should be coming, is that you get no update for weeks, and then out of nowhere, everything is pulled from the roadmap, new stuff is added, boom, 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 like it's just like they just juggled all the puzzle pieces around, and you're like, what just happened? Where hopefully the new roadmap is more smooth. They smooth that experience out, right?
That's a good explanation, actually. For why it might work very well or better, like the current one. Yeah, it's not like this big explosion of news. It's like more gradually. All right. Also, I don't know how CIG does it. I guess we will know once it comes out. But if they set a feature to be worked on for a week or 2 in a sprint, if we will get like big changes in those weeks, or if only at the end of those sprints they actually have like these changes. So essentially, the roadmap updates we have now wouldn't be any different in that case.
Mm-hmm. But it would make more sense because you knew the sprint ended, maybe?
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's exactly. That would be the improvement, I guess.
Yeah, it would be easier to understand. I think we all know people will still have a hard time with it and won't understand. Like I've said already on the show a couple times, I'm an emotional person. And I don't think I'm in the minority being an emotional person.
True. We all?
Yeah, I think we all have emotions, and when something you're excited about falls and it's not in the game anymore, or is getting delayed, in what seems like perpetuity sometimes, it's not easy to deal with. But yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to add on Obtainium?
A lot more, but I think I I got the gist of it across.
Okay, I mean,
I think I'm good.
yeah, I mean, feel free to make one more point if you want. I think we're kind of good on time today.
Yeah, I think going back to the feature dependency graph, I don't know if CIG already said something toward it, if it's like something feasible. I'm sure they already thought about introducing something like this as a roadmap or high-level overview.
Yeah, I think it would be a much more broad thing, right?
Yeah, it would be much more abstract, I think. Not very detailed. It doesn't even have to be too detailed. Just like the big and minor tech features that are needed or being worked on, I think that would already be enough.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a few gameplay mechanics that are being worked on as well. Put that also in there to see like how those gameplay elements depend on these other tech systems. I think that would be very helpful.
Okay.
But it might be a lot of work to maintain and to keep up to date so that it doesn't, because a lot of is in flux because of this software engineering process that always changes. So it might be like almost a full-time job to keep that up to date as well.
Yeah.
So I can understand also that they want to these roadmaps to update without much manual work. So I can understand that position as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
I mean, it's very obvious the current roadmap is pretty manual, it seems.
Sure. True. Also, they said they did like pull those out of the Jira as well. So I'm not sure. But I think they still like.
I think they have to pull them out of the Jira, but they have to take so much out, and then I don't know. I'm not buying that it's super automated. That's for sure.
I mean, maybe the like the tickets, the process, like 10 out of 400 or what it says.
Yeah, that might be pulled from
like
the Jira.
Directly fed. Yeah. But not like the individual features they selected from them.
Yeah.
Manually. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll let you go and go to the next caller. But yeah, I appreciate it. That was a nice chat, man.
Yeah.
All right, I'm Tanu. Be good, buddy.
Yep. See ya.
Bye now. All right, so we have another tweet, so we'll get to that real quick. This is from the Spiffy one, and he says, I don't think we need a feature-driven map. I think we just need a new roadmap without any specific time dates, so backers know what's being worked on without having any expectations on when it's going to be delivered or not. I have a hard time disagreeing with the date thing, but how... It's easy to say, but how do you do it? What does it look like? Does it just say, we're working on this now? And then when they stop working on it, what happened? Why? Did it finish? Is it coming? It's kind of weird. Right? Kind of a weird one. I don't know. But all right. Let's move on to Sigma Tech. Sigma, welcome to the podcast. How you doing? I gotta change your name here.
All good. Can you hear me?
I hear you well. I'll turn you up just a tad.
Cool, perfect.
How's it going?
Good. 3 a.m., so a little tired, so bear with me. Try not to ramble too much.
No worries.
So do we even need a new roadmap or a roadmap in general for SC? It's a great question. And you've touched on a few points this past week, as well as others that I've observed in other streams and people around the community around that topic in particular. I'd like to start with a quick quote, and I would like you to think about how much that actually sounds like the roadmap that we're in now.
Okay.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Right. So CIG is currently in the middle of basically acting like the Sith. And I don't mean to meme too hard in that respect, but what I mean by that is we're all kind of monitoring what they're doing, and we're not really getting a lot of communication on what that means. Now, for me personally, my unique take on the roadmap is I don't think the new one that they're developing is going to achieve anything that resolves any of the problems that we face now. I think all it's going to do is add a little bit more transparency to it, but I think a lot of the symptoms that we have that are currently big problems,
which is the reason for changing it in the first place, right?
Exactly. I think it's just a huge diversionary tactic for them to say, look, we're in a fever dream again of putting things in the roadmap and then taking things out, and we just want to make it a little bit clearer than what we normally do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's entirely going to be the case. My key points that I kind of make here is that when I think of the roadmap, I would say the far superior one that everybody pretty much unanimously agrees with is the Odysseus Ithaca roadmap. You have clear, succinct percentages and graphs that dictate how things are progressing or declining. You've touched on things that have been delayed so many times, and I think it's just them dancing around the fact of, is it technology that's preventing them? Is it resources? Is it manpower? Is it funding? Are any of these things being communicated or portrayed on the roadmap? Can a roadmap portray that? I would argue that it can't. I would say a Jira board can, a Trello board can, but something that's dev-facing and then presenting it to backers is a recipe for disaster.
We're not devs, you know?
Exactly, and I don't think we should have the expectation to be told that, well, just because you don't understand game dev, that you should be able to interpret it. I feel like that's a Ponzi excuse at best.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is I don't need to be a game dev to want to enjoy my video game that I paid for.
Exactly.
It's not fair to make that statement ever.
Yeah. Precisely.
What's fair is to treat your backers with respect and respect their time and their money and their investment that they put into your game. And I do feel that they do feel that way, and I do feel that that's their intention always. I really don't find them to be this like massively malicious company that's out there to scam us all. Whenever I talk about that or wear my scam shirt, it's just a joke. But the whole thing is that does end up being sort of the result at times with the decisions that they've made.
Yeah, and it's only natural to emotionally have that kind of response because, again, as I mentioned, these are symptoms of a bigger problem, which is the communication problem, right? It's really just getting to the point. Yeah. And I think putting lipstick on a pig, so to speak, is not necessarily going to be the solution here. To quickly buzz through some of the other ones that I would consider to be my go-tos before I even really go to the website. Rainwalker, I have to give a shout out to. I would say that Rainwalker's work just on Reddit alone is probably like far and away some of the best stuff that you could just, boom, I need to access something, go to him. That's where he's putting it up. Look at it.
Agreed.
I feel like if there was something that needs to change, and if there's something that the new roadmap should ultimately do, it's going to be controversial, this statement, but I'm going to, fall on my sword on this one. I don't think the new roadmap should show SC. I think the new roadmap should show Squadron 42. And the reason why I say this is because I think that if anybody really deserves to know what the devs are up to, I feel like Squadron 42 needs to be the thing that has a clear, this is where they're at, this is what Gone Gold looks like, and this is what released looks like. Because once that answer is actually clearly detailed, then the SC questions can actually be done competently too. And the reason why I say this is because we already have a new roadmap. It's just so jumbled with jargon that nobody wants to actually read that it exists currently in month in review. We've already got the new roadmap. They're communicating everything in there. But are they putting it on the roadmap? No.
Yeah.
So
will it be on the new one? Yes.
Probably. Right. So why don't they just take down, we're working on this within the context of this patch. This is what we've done within the month. simplify it and just say, right, this is what it translates to while you're playing the game. That's ultimately what everybody wants, because everybody's playing the game, right? Or the project, if we want to call it what it is.
You could see the progress already, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Like when someone's going to explain to you, look, Yogi and his team have spent 3 weeks working on the flight model, and this is what you're seeing in the game as a result. Everybody's going to say, yep, it was worth it, or no. And if it's a no, it's going to be pushing people towards feedback loops. I don't like this. I want this to change. And it's not to say, yeah, let's go in and do it. It's to say, cool, people are communicating, which is what CIG wants, right? And then maybe we have someone that comes along and goes, actually, these are really good points. We should maybe go away and then come back next month on the next patch and then see, whether the changes there are worthwhile. I know Evo and all that sort of stuff exists for that same reason, but there have been too many patches that have come out of Evo at this point where everyone's like, what were they doing for a month? And to kind of round back around to the roadmap, so it's kind of going down another way, but I feel like ISC sort of achieves the same thing. How many things are on ISC that don't really get brought up in the roadmap? Like, is fire propagation on the roadmap often. Right now?
No.
Yeah.
But you would see the sprint on the new one.
Yeah,
most likely.
Exactly.
We're making these assumptions, but yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe like some of the stuff that Jared mentions with regards to the sprint report is something that should hopefully be resolved in the new roadmap.
Yeah.
But like I'm leaning into the whole, again, we've got an ISC that covers the sprint report. Like, what? Why are we doing a whole new roadmap for something that you're already supposed to be delivering on? Or are you not delivering on it now? So then should we call into question what these other things are for? I'm kind of like you in the respect where eventually when you see so much of how the sausage is made, eventually you just don't give a shit anymore. Because it's like, why? Like, if you're just going to talk about something and then remove it a couple of weeks later, what's the point? And then you've got the last two things. So I'm pretty vocal about SC Live. I think SC Live is probably the biggest waste of resources, and it is the biggest waste of time. If they really wanted to make the SCL worth a damn, put SCL as the month in review and do it once a month and just say, right, here are the teams that really honed in and focused on something that you guys were really, fixated on for that month. Mining, the flight model, the combat, something that they can talk about that for an hour, so then we can actually understand the thing that we actually give a shit about was made, right? Like something that we actually care about. And I mean, I'm not even going to get started on week in review. Like literally there've been week in reviews where it's like, we did nothing, see you next week. And it's like, okay, like what? What was even the point of putting it out?
Yeah.
And I mean, to touch on the new roadmap. So when I look at the existing roadmap, I'm like, it's inaccurate. The devs are not following it. The devs are barely adhering to it. They're adding things when they want. They're removing other things when they want. So what's the point? It's not even a roadmap. It's just a sticky board, right?
Yeah. If you don't, the whole point of a roadmap is there's a road. You can't drive on the grass.
Yes. Exactly. Like if the
point
of the roadmap is you're on some nature trail that's heading up some summit somewhere, it's like, well, what? How did we end up on the nature trail? Aren't we supposed to be on the highway towards release? Like, what? When I look at the new roadmap and everyone talks about the Gantt chart and all that sort of stuff, I don't want to be that guy that says I am exposed to this, but I mean, I've worked with Enduro boards, I've worked and been exposed to Trello boards and stuff like that. Cool. You can look at a new roadmap and go, right, X team is working on Y thing. Sweet. Let's look at this. And I'm like, okay, cool. What happens when that gets delayed? So we'll take an example. Server to client networking. Sweet. Everybody's been complaining about how many times that has been delayed.
Since 3.4, apparently.
Exactly, right? Like, how do I know? I didn't even know it was that long. But everybody's complaining about it, right? It's been so long. And I'm like, cool, it's been ages. But again, it's delayed. No communication, as far as I'm aware, as to what's really slowing it down to this level. All I see with that new roadmap is the same problem that we have now, which is they'll add it, and then they know they can't remove it, and then there'll be that line, and that line will say, this is how it's tracking. And then they'll either do some awful thing where they'll just continue that line forever until the technology or the bandwidth or the manpower, all those things that I was talking about before, enable it to have some sort of, complete status or whatever. It just sounds like lipstick on a pig. What are you doing with it? What are you trying to achieve with it? It's like you said, we're supposed to be on a road. I feel like the way I see it is that the dev team in its current form are in dev mode, and they're not in finished product goal. Right?
When
no dates.
Well, yeah, but we aren't in a. Okay, so the product isn't even close to being finished, and it's not supposed to be, right? It's too far away from that.
So for SC,
but at the same
I
time,
agree.
the game is out and released, so every patch should be possibly looked at like it's a finished product. Is that the point you're trying to make?
Yeah, and that's where I kind of feel that a new roadmap for the PU in general is kind of a waste, because I think that with the amount of people that play SC and go, I don't give a shit about Squadron 42, can we just cancel that project and focus on the online factor? I would rather that the devs step up and actually kind of go, yeah, like the thing to remember, guys, is that SC was sort of the thing that we kind of came along to, where we kind of went, we weren't actually here to create Star Citizen originally. We were here to do Squadron first. Yeah. And we're going to finish Squadron, and then we're going to show you why you want it, right? Isn't that the goal? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would like to think it's sort of the goal.
I think it was the goal, but the goal changed a long time ago. And
yeah,
you have to ask what percentage of your backers even know what Squadron 42 is. Second, what percentage of your backers backed for the game Squadron 42? I would say it's a pretty large minority. Nobody gives a shit about Squadron 42 in comparison to the amount of people that care about Star Citizen. So
why don't they?
The need for it's okay. The need for a Squadron 42 roadmap over a Star Citizen one. I think Squadron 42 just needs to stay in its little hole and come out when it's ready. But they need to kind of explain occasionally what the state of the project is.
Yeah, and I mean, my overall perspective is I would rather that they just, even if they finish Squadron 42, we'll say late next year. Like, let's be a dreamer for a minute. If they were going to get it completed by the end of next year, I wouldn't even really care if they were to turn around and say, yeah, well, we were always planning to do an episode 2, an episode 3, or whatever. But I would rather that they say that they completed that roadmap for Squadron 42 first, say that they succeeded something, rather than saying, dev companies take a long time, look at Last of Us, look at Red Dead, look at... don't stop comparing yourself to other companies that have had successful products prior to shipping, and actually start doing that yourself first. Show that you can achieve that goal, because that's what the roadmap's supposed to actually do, right? Show you can achieve that goal. Because how many times have they missed that mark at this point? That's why people don't give a shit about Squadron 42 anymore, because, like, what's the point, right? People are beginning to think it's just a waste of time. If they're going to have to get to a point where they're going to have to make a decision, which I don't think they ever will, what's the point of the roadmap at all? If we're playing a game because we're living in game dev, we're not playing a game anymore. We're living in game dev. Like, no one wants that game. They want something tangible. That's why we're here. I'd like to think that anyway. But anyway, I'll cut myself off there. But is there any kind of other points to cover off? I think I've been
I think you hit. Yeah, I think you hit most of what you wanted to say, and I'm with you. If you're not going to stick to the road, I don't think there's a point for a roadmap.
Exactly. That's pretty much my 2 cents.
Yeah. But all right, Sig. Happy to have you on, and
yeah,
hopefully we can go mining again.
Yeah, for sure. Pleasure as always, man. See you later.
Later, bud. All right, our next caller is Bucko Baklava. Welcome, dude. How you doing? A Florida brother.
How you doing? I had to mute stream. Sorry, it's freaking me out.
It's all good, man. How you doing there, brother?
Pretty good. All hopped up on coffee now, you know?
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah. You want to hit me with the premise one more time for this roadmap discussion?
Well, yeah, just the idea of why do we even need one if you're not going to follow it? And I think that there's more negatives than there are positives for it. I mean, in short, that's sort of how I feel.
Okay. Personally, like, I find the roadmap useful. I like it. I get the frustrations with it.
Sure.
I think the roadmap itself is useful, and I could be wrong in this thinking, but it's useful to help multiple teams work towards a goal. Now, I will say we've watched for years as CIG hasn't quite hit the target most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
That you can't deny that. But I think it's got to be a useful tool, at least from like a product manager's position, to help align the scope of what you want to do with the resources that you have and the amount of time. And they certainly have the resources, as they certainly have a great scope. They just keep failing at this time part of this roadmap.
Yeah.
I think, that you can't really argue that. I will say where the roadmap, and I think all of our frustrations come from, is that a roadmap can be poisonous because it can be a dangerous marketing tool. And if you focus too much on the roadmap, you risk promoting a community of people who have demands for the future rather than realizing and analyzing what's in front of them. I'm a victim to that. And so I feel like that's where we are with this current roadmap, unfortunately. Hopefully the next roadmap will accomplish prevent that from happening. I think that's where Spiffy's tweet kind of plays in.
Yeah, I think the problem is that there are dates on that roadmap, though. It's like this sprint ends in Q4, and this is one of those things where the roadmap is so like developer roadmap. It's internal things that developers use. And my concern there is when you see the sprint end that you're immediately going to go, then it's in the game, right? And that may not mean that that's the case, and it might be difficult to understand, and then it creates more problems, and then CIG spends more time explaining to gamers how game development works when they should be spending less time on that, and they should be spending more time making the game so the gamers can be gamers and the developers can be developers, right?
Yes.
Like I could tell you this. I'm a streamer on Star Citizen. I've made YouTube videos. When I set out to do this, I never intended to have a podcast. I never intended to be a talking head. I never intended for any of those things. I just wanted to make guides on how to play the game. And this is what it's become, is you start turning into like this fucking gamer chair developer, right?
Yeah.
And it just happened, and I never wanted it to happen.
Well, I'll take a brief moment.
And I feel like we're all in that spot.
Yes. I want to discuss that further, but I'm going to take a brief moment and say, well, I love that you've made the guides. I've certainly visited them a few times. Thank you for your mining ones. It's great to visit your YouTube, get a quick update, jump into the game that like I'm looking to play, but your videos help me speed that along so I can get straight into the content I want to play. So you're kind of like this weird ambassador almost, is what I'd say.
I'm pretty weird.
Well, on that point, I feel like you're not weird at all. I think us as the Star Citizen community, we're put into a weird position. At least I've never witnessed other games and their communities experience this. And that position is we are both a gamer and like a publisher. I think we're not quite a publisher in that we have the power to like shift things in a direction that we want, but our collective rage, let's say, against bad implementations is the only thing that influences Star Citizen currently. And so that's like, at least in my memory, I can't think of another instance of that. So we're kind of like in uncharted territory as far as that goes. So there's going to be bumps in the road, in my opinion.
Sure.
And you're like the figurehead for encountering those bumps first.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, mate, but you helped me play the game better. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I think even more so, people say, like, I watch you suffer, so I don't have to.
Yeah. Well, at least, yeah, unfortunate. I'd agree with that, but you also helped me figure out workarounds that, like, I can't devote time to figuring out. But back real quick to the roadmap thing. I get the frustrations with it too, and I've heard a few things said about it being like a waste of time, the roadmap, and I get those frustrations. What I do want to say is that comparatively, as a marketing tool, a roadmap works to inform and seduce the customer base into, buying into the game. I think it's not so much a waste because it's sort of the cheapest way to do that, rather compared to, say, like trailers and the video production it takes for them to, make a video that makes you sit there in awe and in anticipation. So I think the roadmap is like the cheaper way to do that.
And it's weekly, where like a trailer isn't definitely not weekly. That would be a quarterly thing, and then the patch notes drop, then the trailer drops, then the game drops, and then you play it, and then you're disappointed or you like it, one or the other. This is like you're always itching. The thing is right now is that the Star Citizen community doesn't have a game to enjoy, so they're constantly grabbing at any tiny piece of content, and the roadmap is turned into this marketing tool to keep you engaged in something that doesn't exist.
Yes, and that's where they've messed
unhealthy.
Up.
Yeah.
That's the epitome of like you've messed up on your roadmap when you've done exactly what you just described.
When it's
where
a marketing
you're
tool and not roadmap.
Yes, exactly. Yep. And that's the problem with our current roadmap. Let me get all my little peepo notes here.
Oh, he's got notes, boys.
All right. Back on to, I guess, like why I like the roadmap. A quick personal example I can take, I believe it was like 3.9 or 3.10. They had the flight module. And which one was that? 3.9, 10, whatever.
Where they made additional changes to the flight?
Yes.
I think it was 3.10.
Okay, and in that patch, I believe they also had the bartender, which we know how that's ended up. Yeah. However, personally, when I was waiting for that flight change, like really excited for it, I wasn't getting too amped up, but I was like, finally something I'm interested again in Star Citizen to try out.
Sure.
Looking at the roadmap, the thing that held up that patch, that specific part of the patch that I was anticipating, was the bartender. They were really working on it, and that was the last thing to be completed. So personally, it was nice for me to easily log in, see this like text-based roadmap, and find out like, oh, it's not ready yet. Just quick and easy. So that's where I find the roadmap to be useful.
But it doesn't. It's useful because maybe you're reasonable, and I don't know, like the whole thing is that you look at it, you go, oh, it's not ready yet, that's fine. But then there's a portion of the people that are waiting for their combat and flight fixes that are like, why do I not have these? I do not have these because of bartender rage.
Yeah. Well, I will say there was a little bit of I was a little upset. I'm like, I don't give a shit about this bartender. Get it out of here. Give me my fucking flight combats. But,
Mhm.
you just got to bottle that up. It's CIG. I will say roadmaps, they sort of also prevent angst, I feel like. Like, I know what is sort of planned for the future. I don't have to sit here at 3.9 and wonder what the next patch is going to be. It's labeled in a way where I can anticipate it, and I don't have the anxiety of, like, what's next? I'm bored. I don't know how you feel about that.
How I feel about that is, yeah, I look at the roadmap and I see what's next, and I look forward to it, but then it's gone by the time it gets there.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of frustrating. So, like, yeah, it's useful in that sense of that, wow, I'm dealing with this crappy patch right now, but the future looks pretty bright, right? But that's how it's been in Star Citizen since they've delivered the roadmap. But unfortunately, that bright future, a lot of the times, falls off the map before you can even get to it. So then it adds to the frustration even more so that you're playing a broken game, but you have something to look forward to, and then that something to look forward to is no longer there.
Yeah, and I think that plays into like what we stated earlier with its CIG's failure with the roadmap becoming a marketing tool rather
Absolutely.
than it being the roadmap, unfortunately. So it is something that I think needs to get cleared up. They have kind of messed up their roadmap, but I still find a roadmap being useful. It's just they haven't done it so well, unfortunately.
That's fair.
And then unfortunately we are also like the publishers and gamers of the game, so we're in a weird spot too.
Yeah. It sucks.
I think it does. It's worse for you, brother. I'm so sorry, Kekona.
Yeah, you don't have to be sorry for me. Like, I put myself in this spot. These are our choices that I make. These are the choices. These are the choices that I made, and I can stop whenever I want.
True.
And I just choose not to.
I don't know who's the assumed like the ex dev. Did we already have him speak? Is he behind me?
He may or may not come on.
Okay, well,
he's not sure because the
maybe...
whole thing is he wants to. If he comes on the show and has a discussion about this, he wants to make sure that he just talks about roadmaps in general and not about his experiences there, because it would be it just wouldn't be correct to have a former dev come on the show and either throw someone under the bus potentially by accident. You don't know what kind of implications that would have, right? And so I wouldn't want him to come on unless he was comfortable that it would just be from the game development perspective instead of having backers come on and say how they feel about the roadmap only. It'd be cool to have that game dev side of it and how they use them. So, yeah.
All right. Well, he might not speak on this, but I did want to say that I think roadmaps also kind of help teams. It promotes a sort of like internal innovation where, I don't know, ideas can kind of collectively be formed and have a constructive kind of criticism amongst themselves. Yeah. Now, I don't know if that's actually what they do, but that's what a roadmap is supposed to do. So I hope that they do that, but from what we're seeing, well, we don't get to see that side, and then the dates don't get hit, so that's a whole other thing.
Yep, we shall see.
Yeah, and I just want to throw one more thing, and then I'm out of here.
All right.
But I guess like earlier you guys were saying the road, like this is a road map, so where's the road? I'm driving all over the grass, but I feel like the other side of that coin is it's a road map. It's a map, not a road. So it just depends on what side of the coin you fall on.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
And I will finalize that in saying I'm glad that we have both sides of that coin. I feel like that offers balance. Not everyone should feel like, well, it's a road map. It's just a map, not a road, and vice versa. So I'm glad to hear we have like a community of people who are like hopefully offsetting each other.
I hope that's something that I've cultivated here a little bit, because I do think, and we've had Answer the Call podcast about this. I think is the community toxic? I think was the name of the title, and I think it is in a sense of it gets very echo chambery, where they carve out their section of all the people that agree with the way they feel, and then this section over here is all the people that agree with the way they feel, and then nobody talks to each other, nobody interacts with each other, and nobody shares opinions with each other. I mean, it was the whole reason I go on the Yacht Club podcast. I had them come on this time, is that it's very important that you hear other people's perspectives. And when you have Jarun come on your show, where he's perceived as somebody that's just insanely supportive of the project, and you hear what he has to say, it was kind of a totally different experience last week than, so it's, I think it's really healthy to have some of a balance, Yeah,
definitely. And I think you have cultivated that, and I think part of the reason why you that has become that you've cultivated this is, you stated earlier, you're an emotional person. Well, emotional people tend to also be more open, and so it's just a sort of natural thing I see in you, and I pat yourself on the back for that.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I have fun doing this, at least, and people seem to enjoy it. So.
Yeah.
All right, Bucko. We'll let you go, and I guess we'll head to the next caller. But thank you. I appreciate your insights on everything.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, let's play some games one day soon.
Yes.
All right, talk to you. All right, our next caller is Pablo Escobar. I don't think this is the real Pablo Escobar, okay? His name just might be Pablo Escobar, but I don't know if it's that guy, all right? How's it going, Pablo? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mike.
Oh, I hear
can
you
hear
well.
Me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, first time on the ATC show, so I hope everyone can hear well what I'm saying, because I'm not English native speaker. So yeah.
Your English is probably better than mine. You're doing fine.
Thank you.
Are you the real Pablo Escobar?
No. No. My first name is Pablo, but I'm not Escobar.
Gotcha. Okay.
But so I wanted to come talk with you about the subject, and
sure.
I just wanted first to talk about the first time we heard about the new roadmap. It was the at the end of July, and we still don't have any new roadmap. So yeah, almost 3 months. So I guess it's worth noting that point. Next.
It takes. I think the reason we don't have it though is partly because of the conversation that we're having now. Is if they do deliver it, they have to make sure that it resolves the issues that the old one caused.
So yeah, about that question, I don't think because the question about the podcast is, do we even need a roadmap in Star Citizen? And I don't think we need one, because the amplitude of the project doesn't require, or in other terms, it puts a lot of pressure on the development teams. For example, I was thinking a little bit about games like Oblivion, Skyrim, or just big games that just redefined the genre, like Star Citizen is going to do, or pretends to do it.
Is attempting to do.
Yeah, and all of these games, they don't have a roadmap, because I don't think they can handle the pressure the public will be doing on them.
Sure.
So that's the first point I wanted maybe to share.
Sure.
And
before you move on to your next point, do you want to discuss that a little bit?
Oh yeah, of course.
I think it's interesting, because I think you're right, and the reason why is you see how reactionary CIG is to the pressure we put on them at times. They put something out, and we may not like it, and then all of a sudden they stop sharing as much certain things. They're doing less concept. I believe this. This is not something I know as a fact, but I believe this is why we see straight to flyable ships, and you're not seeing your concept ships be developed as much, because they still need to sell ships, and if they do a concept ship, it needs to be very close to exactly what they're going to make, because they don't want to hear you're complaining about this button looks different than the concept art and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's why they do more straight to flyable, and they've literally changed the way they do things because they can't handle our reactions, is how I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you about that. And so about the roadmap necessity, I think the roadmaps are very useful when you have little teams or just one team localized in one location in the world. Because Star Citizen has, I think, 6 or 7 teams around the world, and I think converging to one roadmap between 6 different teams, it's very hard. I think you deliver very more quickly the roadmap when you are working in a closed environment with your colleagues really close to you. And for example, I have some examples to games that even I don't enjoy but for example, Fallout 76 has that roadmap type. They how do we say that? How do we say it? The team is small. It's not all of Bethesda that is involved in Fallout 76. It's only one studio, and they can, I think, with more efficiency, deliver the roadmap content than if it will be like a multi team sized project.
Yeah. I love that point that you make. Like, how the hell do you organize so many studios into this one cohesive thing? But at the same time, it is very hard. But at the same time, they need to be able to make a game that way.
Yeah, they need to, but the companies that do that way don't interact with their public about the intricacies of development, like Star Citizen is doing.
Yeah, and it's almost like expecting. I'm trying to think of a good analogy.
I mean, Cyberpunk is a good example for that.
Yeah.
It's like it has a lot of devs working right now. Not the same amount like before. I mean, of course they have to create new studios, like for example in London. But if you examine Cyberpunk, how they are doing it, London is only specialized about the communication. So they are organizing, for example, the night cities, the night wires podcasts. And for example, I think if Star Citizen was doing that type of development, only sharing the new content with the format of the night city wires of Cyberpunk, focusing a lot about gameplay with a little bit of development, like a little interview, for example. And if you don't have anything else to show, don't make a roadmap. I mean, it's just useless.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the advantage that Cyberpunk seems to have over Star Citizen in that aspect is they actually have gameplay to share. Where Star Citizen is in this really hellish spot at the moment, just because, like, I'm not trying to make a joke or anything, really. They're just in a hellish spot at the moment where it's like they're just waiting for iCache, server meshing, all these other features, like tech features, to finish so they can start focusing on the game.
Yeah, but you're saying it's big features, but I'm not like a big tech guy, so.
Well, neither am I. This is what they tell me. You know, this is what they tell us as a backer. So I'm just using their words.
Yeah, but I think a useful roadmap is when you have like distinctive objectives and goals about gameplay and content, and not about tech stuff, because the tech stuff don't interest the people. I mean, let's be real about that also.
It interests some people, but yeah, most people just want to play the game.
Yeah, but even the people interested about the tech stuff will be even a lot more interested if you present them new content, new gameplay types. And for example, if you take, I'm going to take Satisfactory, the game, you have like a base game built, and then you have a roadmap defining new objectives, new type of gameplays, new gameplay loops, but you need to have a base game, and I don't think Star Citizen has a base game. They need to consolidate the basis they have, the different types of gameplays, mining. Mining is already there, but for example, also how do we say it when you dismantle the ships that are destroyed?
Salvaging.
Salvage, for example. I mean, you have to have this basis, and then you can have a roadmap improving on these gameplay loops.
Yeah. I mean, that would be cool. Like, are you saying that? Are you saying something like a roadmap would have salvaging on it, and it would have medical gameplay on it, and it would have these other gameplay elements, and then you would see the progress towards them?
Yeah, for example.
Okay.
I mean, like Satisfactory is doing it. Satisfactory has a very good roadmap.
I'm gonna
type.
look for it.
And also, if you are interested, I have also a recommendation about a YouTube channel. They are doing a podcast called War Stories, and they have done 2 episodes about, one is Subnautica and the other is Dead Cells, and they take a deep look about the development, and also the relation they have with the public when they were in early access, and the way they interacted with the public, and the way also they integrated ideas from the public. And it's interesting looking up with these games developers the way they did it, because just the gamers are successful. So I think just Star Citizen needs to look at what is successful right now in terms of public relationships and marketing, and also development, and just try to make a similar things.
I can't find their roadmap. Apparently, there's like just an old one.
Yeah, because they completed a lot of objectives of the roadmap. So I think they are maybe going to do another one. I don't know, but they have completed a lot of the objectives of the old one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. We're totally off topic. But I'm just saying I'm so looking forward to dedicated servers for that game.
Okay.
It'll be very fun to play with other people. But yeah,
sure.
the whole idea of this roadmap is kind of tough. If we're not going to stick to it, and if it's just going to be used to keep you engaged, I don't know.
If you want another good example of
Sure.
Of roadmap, take the game Industries of Titan. It's a strategy game.
Love it.
And just look the roadmap. It has just big gameplay chunks, and you are looking at these new gameplay chunks that are coming when you are a player. Like, for example, the new ship-to-ship combat that is actually in the game, and that has been added recently. And I mean, I don't know, it's so different than Star Citizen in terms of communication and roadmap.
I'm looking for these roadmaps. I cannot find them. Oh, there it is. I found it. Here, let's show that. So this is the Industries of Titan roadmap. So they have coming soon, transportation, combat, and it's just plan future updates. But that's it.
That was April 2020. So we are right now, Combat 2.0 has already been...
this is old. This is when they first came out with the game. I actually remember looking at this roadmap. But if anything, is this not a good way of doing it? And then you, like, as you're working on an update, when you're ready to share with people, you say, this is the Combat 2.0 update. And then you have some patch notes about all the changes that you made that exist in Combat 2.0. This is what a roadmap is.
It's way more simple to comprehend, to understand as a backer also.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to understand that CIG would think that we are any different than the people who would buy this game. We're the same people.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of whales who spend $100,000 on this game, like something stupid, right? And I don't mean stupid in a bad way. Like, you spend your money how you want, do whatever you want. I don't care what you do with your money. But that doesn't make them or that doesn't make us any different than anybody else who plays video games. It needs to be simple. It needs to be succinct. This is what we want in our game. And then when you're starting to deliver on it, you do. And I love that Star Citizen wants to be open development. But I think open development should probably exist in the sense of after one of these features on this roadmap drops, then you share how you made it. I don't think you need to share how you make it as you're going.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
I agree totally.
I think this is a great example of how to do things, and then you look at Star Citizens, and it's a very different thing. Like, are these the same thing?
It doesn't need to be hard to understand. I mean, just you looked at In the City of Titan, it's a completely different game. I can it's not comparable with Star Citizen, but I don't understand the roadmap of Star Citizen, and even the new roadmap, I just don't understand it. It's way too complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, what is zero G push and pull? I mean, even the title it's complicated. It's complicated.
Oh, their titles
to
for things are the best. High speed combat actually meant low speed combat. Stuff like that. It's funny. Their titles are kind of funky.
So yeah,
somebody in Twitch chat says it sounds like I don't want open development. Yeah, I don't. I don't think it works. I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah, but I think Star Citizen cannot. It's obligated for Star Citizen to have it because it's crowdfunded. So I don't think they can. They can have a close development without sharing things. So.
They can't anymore. It's too far. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have.
And yeah, we would never have Star Citizen if they didn't do it that way. Like, nobody needs to tell me what happened with this project and give me the history of it. I've been here the entire time. I understand that part, but it has its detriments, and I'm just expressing what those detriments are.
Yeah, sure.
And how they're more detrimental now that we have a game that is playable than before when we were in a hangar or just Arena Commander, right? So that's kind of how I feel about that. But all right, Pablo, is there anything else you want to add? Because we got a couple more callers we got to bring in.
No, it's okay. I've just said all the things I wanted to say. So thank you very much for having me, and maybe see you next time.
Yeah, I hope to have you on, man. And your English was fucking perfect. So yeah, don't ever feel worried about that. Later, buddy.
Thanks.
All right, next caller is Beefy Joe. What's up, Beefy? How you doing?
Oh, what's up, bud? How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah. Me too. It's a nice day today. It's a good day outside.
You sound very very upbeat and happy right now.
I'm pretty tired. I haven't had my coffee yet, so Sleepy Joe. That's me.
Sleepy Joe.
Yep. Sleepy Joe. Yep. So this idea sort of just popped in while you were talking with Bucko. I know, yes, we already have the roadmap. It's already underway. Whatever. But as just somebody who wants to see more of what's holding back the project, I don't think that the roadmap actually delivers the information that we need on where is server meshing, where is all this tech that we need. So I thought, if you put on the roadmap roadblocks of tech blocks, just things that are blocking future progress, and that thing that we just saw from that other game roadmap, you would put the planned content that can't be implemented until that other stuff is underway behind those tech blocks. And then what they're doing with their Gantt chart, you see all the progress, but then connect the Gantt chart to those tech blocks and the related future gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, what you're asking for is an actual roadmap.
Yeah.
Like, here is the end, and these are the steps to get to the end.
Yeah, I feel like we just have a it's somewhere over there, and if you just follow that road, like you'll get there. But we're not actually seeing you're gonna run into this issue.
You don't see
you
the
gotta-
dependencies.
Yes, yeah, exactly. The dependencies are really what I'm interested in.
Yeah. Most of the community, well, you aren't interested in the dependencies. You're interested
No,
in the
I'm-
feature. And it's very difficult to tell why you don't have that feature yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah, so
when
so
they
I think
worked
it's
on
just
this
a good
thing, why I
idea.
didn't get it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I think it's a good idea to visually show, like, if this is open development, then they should be open about the things that are holding them back, and be more open about the issues that are holding back certain features and why those features are tied together and preventing stuff. I feel like that would quell a lot of the rage that we get when we just see things move or slide or go up and down on the roadmap or disappear entirely.
Maybe. I think it, I don't know. I'm a little bit on the fence with that statement because all right, hear me out. The them telling us why it doesn't work or why it's still them explaining to non-game developers game development.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the solution to any problems because they're never going to understand. I can sit here, I can talk to 20 developers all day, every day, and I'm not in their chair. I don't know what their day-to-day is like. I've never made a game myself. I have no idea what they're talking about. And I cannot sit here on this podcast and go, this is how it should be. Because I'm not in a position where I can. I can just explain why the choices that they make affect me in one way or another. So I think them explaining to us why XYZ feature and then we need this thing and that, it just gets a little bit too convoluted for your average person. You know, and I could sit there and I understand to some extent why things are the way they are, but it's I think something, I don't know, man. I don't think there's an easy win here in this situation for them. I think just in general, the way they did everything, they backed themselves into a corner where they're going to be under the microscope with every decision they make, no matter what they do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you hit it on the head. I mean, they back themselves in the corner, but I mean, I think the way out of it is to, I don't know. I mean, the Gantt chart thing, I think is a good thing. I think
I think it's
open
better
Gantt
for
chart,
sure, yeah.
Yeah, like it's definitely a good thing, and I think that's a heck of a lot better than what we've got with the JPEGs that are ever changing on the roadmap
Yeah.
page with just vague task complete. I don't know. It's tough. Yep.
It is. It's yeah, Sag. It's tough to be it's just tough it's tough to be a player that wants to play the game now.
Yeah.
I don't know how tough it is to be a player that is just sitting on the outside waiting for something to happen. But when you actively attempt to play the game, even based off of like the patch notes of the current patch, like, all right, go do this. You know, this is a new thing. If you don't know the 15 workarounds to even get to that point, it's quite difficult experience. So
Yeah,
even
and
when you look at the roadmap and what's complete, it's not a good representation of the game that's even playable at the moment.
No, it's not,
Yeah.
and so little of it is gameplay that the actual player base that's trying to play is caring about. Like
Yeah.
I'm just looking at 3.12. I think really the only thing anybody cares about is refining.
And what's sad about that is it's just another mining update.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
like poor people that want other things. You know,
poor traders, poor bounty hunters, like
and
every other profession.
We do a lot of mining here on this channel, so it's pretty awesome for me. But I don't think about what's just good for me. I try to think about what's good for everybody. It was really nice to see combat improvements over the last couple patches, and hopefully they keep coming. Right? They have a team dedicated to it. You would hope they would have some content to deliver each patch.
Yeah, I definitely liked the event that they did. I thought it was a good step to like, because what it really was is it was a carrot to incentivize the community to test the combat changes that they made.
And it's the first carrot that didn't sit on the roadmap.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It didn't sit on the roadmap. It wasn't a feature. It wasn't a thing that needed to be developed. It wasn't a thing that was purchasable. It was the first carrot that was in the game, which is really cool.
So
You know?
maybe. So yeah, your question is good. Now I'm just sitting here. Do we need it? Do we need the roadmap? I don't know. Like
I don't.
I
don't personally, but that's me. I need a patch. I need an update on a month out from the patch. Like in reality, do I need a weekly update? No. Do I need a monthly update? No. I need an update after like constantly be in communication with. Okay, release a patch. This is what I need. If I wanted to say what my ideal CIG communication would be, because it's still sort of on topic with the roadmap thing, is I would like a roadmap that was very much, I'll bring it up again in case people are just popping in, very much like the Industries of Titan roadmap that we showed earlier, that has a representation of planned features in the future. So things like farming would be on here, things like orgs 2.0 would be on here, things like full persistence would be on here, right? Then that's fine. That's your one major overarching macro view at what Star Citizen might look like in the future. Then as far as communication would go, I would really need constant communication of the current patch that you're in, the issues that we're dealing with, bug fixing, communication back and forth on resolving those issues, and the experience that you currently have. After that, the only other communication I would like to see is as you're approaching the next patch, let's have a list of the features that are going to be in that patch. Let's see some patch notes. Let's get a trailer, and then let's jump in the game and start playing. And then let's continue that communication of these are the issues with this. These are my constructive criticisms and my feedback. I think the constant weekly updates of everything that's going on are too often and too.
It's so nitpicky.
Yes, it creates it made me nitpicky about it, and I don't know. I'm kind of nitpicky in my life in general about things, but you start dissecting every little thing they do then.
Yeah, which it sort of becomes information overload at that point for just the average gamer.
And the problem with that is somebody in Twitch chat, Karakal, says weekly updates are required to keep customers interested, and that's the issue that I take with this, is that the things that they're doing to communicate with their backers, people that have spent money on the game, that should be the communication should be on the game and how it's played and all these things. They're every element of this communication stopped being about game development and started to be about marketing, and started to be about keeping you engaged, keeping you happy, all of these things. And I think that's the kind of issue that I take with it, is it's all of these things that were supposed to do one thing have been hijacked and being used for another.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with you that the roadmap is definitely a marketing tool.
Yeah.
Especially just as somebody who was a new player at 3.9, getting into 3.9, you know, unboxing it, you know, going through the paces of, oh, this is broken, that's broken, like, what's the deal, you know, and then you look at the roadmap, it's like, oh, well, they got all this stuff coming, and then everything you're excited for comes off, you know, in the hopes that you might buy the new ship that they slap on the roadmap. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, it is a weird situation, and just, you know, everything I say is just the way I perceive things. I know everybody else perceives everything in a different way, and it's why we do shows like this. But it's tough. It's tough. It's a weird spot to be in, because I feel like what I said, it's almost like I want them to stop making money. Right? That's how it's perceived.
And I mean, you and I have talked about this before. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of the sub model. I mean, if you're gonna have a hosted service, I think you need a subscription to pay for servers. Period.
Yeah.
You know, but
we'll see.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your train of thought.
No,
might be.
No. I mean, it's pretty much on line with that. It's just the idea of I don't think this is. They've made a ton of money. It worked really well, but at what detriment?
Yeah, like they can't sell ships into infinity. I mean, the like you've said, like Chris has said, ships are the major gameplay, like, progression path. Like you can't keep selling the gameplay, or it is pay to win at launch. Like I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, we're so far off topic. It's just
it might be.
No, it's not your bad. It's kind of both of us. The only thing is that's what I take issue with, is that you've turned your communication with the backers into a way to sell the game more, and I don't know if that is a successful thing. And when it bleeds down all the way into a roadmap, I think that's when it starts to become problematic, and I hope this new roadmap might resolve that, and it could, but we'll have to see. All right, well, we got one more caller, Beefy. Is there anything you want to do before, anything you want to chat about before we let you go and go to him?
Nah, dude. I'll see you probably in the verse soon. You know, we'll be smashing our heads against the desk together.
Yes. All right, brother. Talk to you, man.
Peace out, man.
All right, and we have one more caller, but before we go there, we do have one more tweet that I missed an hour ago, so I'm going to try and get him in there. And it's from Curly Tom, who has an incredibly creepy avatar, but he says, I think the roadmap is necessary to know things we can stress about, to get the development critical and ongoing, and don't give the devs a chance to hide and stop delivering. I think we talked about this earlier in the show. If that was the truth, then the current roadmap would be doing that already. Because we, like we just talked about with BP, we dissect everything, we talk about everything, we are constantly putting pressure on them to make the game better. And if that was actually true, then it would already be working. And I don't think it works. It's clearly not working in the case of Star Citizen, right? They don't seem to feel the pressure because they don't have a proper production company, not production company. You know what I'm talking about, the people who deliver the game or whatever, right? They don't have them like over their heads saying we need to deliver on this date. So it's kind of weird. But yeah. All right, let's go on to our next caller, who is Nitrate. Nitrate, what's up, man? You're our final caller for the day. How you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
I am well.
Good. It's been a long time since I've actually been in the stream, but I've recently come back because your content's really good, dude.
Oh, it was horrible before, right?
No.
It actually was, though. Like
it actually has it has a lot to do with the production of Star Citizen and me losing my motivation for the game a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've recently kind of revitalized my motivation for the game with the development of it, but back then you had first gone to Benny's for the first time. You found it for the first time.
Oh, wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. That was a while ago.
Wow.
So my first topic is I have a theory that they have two different roadmaps in parallel with each other. They have an internal roadmap, and then they have a roadmap for the public.
Of
The
course.
internal roadmap outlines what they want to complete in a certain 3XX update. And I think that has a lot to do with going back to what you guys were talking about as far as quote unquote punishment for the devs. You know what I mean? They could be meeting their internal roadmap, but they're just not meeting their public roadmap.
Interesting. But then,
Yeah,
so if that's the case, then are you implying that they're lying? I don't know how else to say it.
I wouldn't say they're lying. I think the expectations they put out to the public are a little bit accentuated.
Do
You
you
know what I mean?
think that that's okay to do?
You especially have seen things pop off and on the roadmap, and they get moved further down the line. I just don't think their focus is currently on those things that they pop off the roadmap at the last second. And I think their internal roadmap is like their main goal and what they want to work on. And I don't necessarily think that their internal roadmap is very crucial or core things they should be working on.
Do you hear how backwards that seems, though? That their internal
Yeah.
roadmap is slower than their external one?
Yes and no, but I also have
Okay.
a theory on top of that.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
I have a few notes. I've been in and out of the game development industry. I follow up on a lot of different type of games and articles and stuff like that, and I know how they kind of like run their internal infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is with the upcoming, or not the upcoming, but the very far future of iCache and server meshing, is they don't have that done. So their current public roadmap is to basically delay or add features to add to the public roadmap to get people excited about it. And like you said, marketing. And then, so they're basically delaying development or adding things to the game they never really wanted in the game, but they thought it was a cool feature later down the line. And it has to do with a lot of, additional back end, quote unquote, core aspects of the game, where if they implement it later on in the game, it'll be much harder to do.
Maybe, but are you a game developer?
No, I don't claim to be a game developer at all. No.
I feel
I just know
like-
how they run their infrastructure.
Okay. Because it almost, like, how... I only asked that because, like, how can you make that statement without knowing how it works? Is that fair?
What do you mean? Which statement? Because I made a lot.
The one about adding these features because it would be more difficult to do it later because of after they added all the core tech, it would be more difficult to do it later.
Well, because they don't have a base game. If they had a base game and they say, or you finished the game, and then they had features that they wanted to quote unquote rework and update, that would be more feasible than what they're doing right now. But they're just basically adding features and systems into the game right now that don't even exist, that they're developing on the fly.
So this is interesting because what you're saying directly contradicts with what they say to us. So what they say to us is, we are not developing certain features because it makes no sense to rework.
I disagree with them.
That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm just telling you what they say. Is that and honestly, not just what they say, but what they do. So and I always go back to the mission team because this is something that directly came out of Luke Presley's mouth, who like oversees that team. Is he said, we do not want to make missions because like certain, and I'm definitely paraphrasing, okay, here guys, is that we don't want to make all these missions because when server object container streaming comes in, we have to rework them for that. Then when server meshing comes in, we have to rework them for that. So the idea would be let those things come online, and then you make it work within that framework, because you don't know how to make it work within that framework until you have that framework there already. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And what's happening now is while the framework is being built, a lot of those teams appear to be any new feature that they're putting in is being built with the intention to hook up with that tech, and then the old stuff is being brought up to speed, which is wasting time. Because they had to put out a product in front of us in order to market the game and have us play it. If they didn't do that, they wouldn't have to do all this rework kind of stuff as often, at least. Obviously, you throw something out there, see if it works or if it doesn't, and then you make changes and iterate on it. That's different than actual reworking things that you probably never would have had to do in the first place.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yeah, I just think they don't have iCache or server meshing complete. And I think in the meantime, they're thinking of other features they need to add or want to add to the game. And then it creates more issues, more bugs that they actually have to fix for the server iCache or the server meshing and the iCache itself.
Sure,
so
maybe
with them, I guess with them like twiddling their thumbs and like trying to think of stuff to add to the game, they try to implement to the game, they make more issues, and then they're just making more issues for them down the line when they want to implement iCache and server meshing.
Maybe. I don't know if I can agree or disagree with that, because I don't have the knowledge to come back at you with a fact or anything, right? So
yeah,
maybe...
I mean, you can go back and just reevaluate their roadmap on like what they. Okay, you can go back and look at the video from their Star Citizen Con when they first announced that they were going to come out with a roadmap, and they basically outlined what they wanted to list off inside of that roadmap. The roadmap now is completely different than what they actually said at that conference.
Yeah, because it was definitely hijacked by marketing. It's just like, it's so obvious. It's so obvious that marketing took that over.
Yeah, and basically all my topics just kind of like feed into one another in the fact that they're reworking systems that are already implemented in the game and making them better, which is cool, but you already have that in. Like, just leave it there. Come back to it at a later time when you have the core game done. You could do that. They could make updates and stuff like that to the, I guess, like the UI and stuff like that. A lot of people hate the UI, which I totally agree with. And then I totally agree with like Sig mentioning that the fact that they need to focus on Squadron 42, because I hate to compare it to Cyberpunk because I think Cyberpunk is way overhyped and I think it's just a GTA clone. But aside
probably
from
a
that,
Witcher clone, but yeah.
Yeah. So aside from that, they have a core game. They have a base game that they're going to have finished on November 19th. And then not until 2023, they're going to come out with multiplayer is what their commitment date is. So they have a core game that they have that's going to be played up until 2023. Granted, there's probably going to be bug fixes and stuff like that along the line there. And then, but they're going to slowly implement their multiplayer along the line. It's not them working on 3 separate games. Like you got Squadron 42, you got the PU, you got Arena Commander, you have, Star Marine. He has so many different projects that they can't narrow it down to a single project.
Oh, agreed. I mean, there's Theaters of War, there's Squadron 42, there's Star Marine, there's Arena Commander, there's Star Citizen. There's like 15 different games that are being developed all at one time, and they all kind of argue that they would make the game Star Citizen eventually, but I don't know, it's just kind of weird, man. It's a weird way of going about it. It feels like a weird way of going about it instead of just focusing on the one thing.
I don't really think they have a funding issue, but they definitely do have a marketing issue as far as them. They definitely want to market the roadmap to basically advertise new ships, have people buy new ships, and then
it
coming
just
out
keeps
with
you
new weapons
on the hook. It keeps you, and
Oh.
I feel like the ships and weapons part of the roadmap are less important to the keeping you on the hook than that one feature that looks pretty cool.
Correct. Yeah, I think they're a very, very small portion of the bigger problem here.
Yeah, because they
But
market
the
that
fact
stuff
is-
elsewhere more often, where the feature side is heavily dependent on the roadmap for sharing information there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, my big issue is them pumping out basically cosmetics and weapons over core features of the game. And because they can pump that out like easy. Like, this Halloween event is a prime example of that. Like, who the fuck needs teddy bear helmets?
I think it's okay. I look at that as like a super positive. Some people look at that as a negative. I think here's the thing. They have to decide what this is. They have to decide whether the game is an alpha or the game is a live service. It can't be both at the same time. So they often say that the game is a live service, it's a release product, right? And if they're going to act like it's a release product, whatever awful state that it happens to be in at any given time, if they're going to do that, they need to treat it as such. So if it's this release product, MMO kind of thing, then treat it as so. So when Halloween comes around, do a Halloween event, right? I'm okay with that. That's, again, my opinion. But I definitely respect yours and understand it. Why do we need that now? We don't. But to some extent, we do.
No, I agree that it's cool to have. Like, it's definitely cool, like cosmetics and skins, but is it needed right now, like in the development?
For the development of Star Citizen, no. If you're only looking at it that way. But it's year 8, and people want to play the game, and for the first time ever, this event allowed people to play the game in some aspect of what it might look like at the end. For the first time ever, I would argue. This was the first moment where there was an item in the game that you couldn't purchase on the website. For the first time ever. So the argument there is like, this is the first time Star Citizen was ever a game, period.
Yeah, with the implementation of atmospheres and having to deal with the bugs of that, where the gravity would pull your ship down to the surface and crash you instantly.
Weird, I didn't experience that.
I did. Actually, more prominently on New Babbage than any other planet, but New Babbage is obviously a new planet that's come in since a recent roadmap, but or update, I guess. So, but my last thing is in replacement of roadmaps, they need to do quarterly updates instead of like with like a development letter on just like updates of what they're working on and what they're wanting to achieve instead of the current system that they have.
They do those now, actually. You should check them out on the website. They're called postmortems. But it's more of what they did last, like once the patch releases, they talk about, or at the end of the patch, they talk about what they did. But you would rather it the opposite, I guess, like when the patch releases, you would want... Explain a little bit more, because I guess I misunderstood.
No, I guess like just to have them just do a kind of what they're doing with the roadmap now, except in a letter form that I think their issue with not having the roadmap is people not being able to follow along on their development. So they want to keep that like interaction with their community as far as like the community knowing what they're working on right now, so they can expect some of those updates to be in a future update.
Okay, well, I would say this. I've disagreed with a lot of the things that you've said, but I agree with this like 100%. I think as a patch is ready to come out, I think it would be cool to have a little bit of a post or something at the beginning of a video or something with SCL. Like one of my mods in Twitch chat argues that that's the monthly report, though. In a way, yes, but no, because I like what he's saying where it lays out not their goals from a development standpoint necessarily, that's very highly technically worded, but more of this is what we wanted to get from this patch. We're really excited, like we put in some new features for the flight model, and hey, We're gathering feedback to see if this stuff works. And if it doesn't, we're going to go back to the drawing board on this, and we might, extend out this feature a little bit more to try to make it better. Something like that, right? Is that more of what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that
essentially.
idea. I actually like that a lot. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I just
It
I
just
think they
explains
do
where
have,
their head's at, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the developers that work for CIG, I think they do have somewhat of pressure from the company, but more so with their internal roadmap, less so with their public roadmap.
Yeah, I'm still not agreeing with you on that one. I think they're the same. I think they just hide things on their internal roadmap from us in the external one. But that's something that neither of us can win that argument because we don't have the facts.
It's conspiracy talk. I get it. Yeah, no, I get it.
For sure. But yeah, I guess we might end it here then, Nitrate. Is there anything you want to add before we let you go?
No, that's it, man.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Be good. All right, guys. That's it for today's show. It was an interesting one. CIG is in a very precarious position. They know the roadmap that they have currently is not perfect. It's definitely got its negatives, and the future roadmap, while it resolves some of the issues that are there, I still think the underlying problems might exist. So that's why we asked the question, do we even need a roadmap? I think I shared my thoughts on it. If you guys are watching on YouTube, please feel free to share your thoughts below. And yeah, it's an interesting one. CIG has often got themselves in these positions that worked out really well for them early, but tend to be biting them in the behind a little bit later in its development here in year number 8. So we'll have to see what the future lies for the roadmap, but I figured what a better time to kind of express people's feelings about the current one, about what they know about the future one. And for those of you guys checking this out, I did actually forget to draw the giveaway for the ship from last week's ATC. So I'm going to do it right now. I actually believe I have to download a program and everything. I've had a kind of a funky week where it doesn't feel like Sunday. It didn't feel like Friday. It didn't feel like Saturday. So let me grab this. Oh, what's the name of it? No, I'll look for it. Hold on. So I will actually draw that, and I'm going to post a community post on my YouTube channel, as well as I will add an additional beginning of the show for the winner of the YouTube raffle, okay? So guys, thank you again for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like, subscribe, leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube and you want to join the show live, we stream this on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, discord.gg/SaltEMike as well, to hang out with our community. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for watching. All right, bye guys.